The best restaurant transactions are not just financial events, they are turning points. A seller closing one chapter and trusting that what they built will be taken care of. A buyer stepping into something they have been working towards, sometimes for years. When those two things align at the right moment with the right broker in the middle, the result is more than a closed deal. It is a story worth telling. Two recently closed listings from We Sell Restaurants brokers capture that truth from very different angles. One spent 332 days on the market with the closing date rescheduled 4 times before the deal finally crossed the finish line. The other lost its first buyer when a landlord reversed course in December, forcing the broker to start over, find a second buyer, and navigate a landlord relationship that had already proven unpredictable. Different markets, different sellers, different buyers, different obstacles. Both closed. Here is how. Deal 1. A multi-unit operator steps back, an entrepreneur steps up. By Jay Chandler. We Sell Restaurants. WSRFL, Pensacola Mobile Territory. Some deals test your patience from the very first day. Listing number 24953 in Spanish Fort, Alabama, was that kind of deal. Closing it after 332 days and 4 rescheduled closing dates is one of the more satisfying things Jay Chandler has put his name on. The previous owner had built a multi-location restaurant business, running the Spanish Fort location alongside a second restaurant at the beach simultaneously. His decision to sell was personal, not driven by underperformance or financial stress. When a seller with that kind of portfolio decides to step back for personal reasons, what hits the market is an asset. Buyers and lenders understand the difference, and it shaped how Jay positioned the listing from the beginning. The new owner is a deliberate portfolio builder who evaluates opportunities through the lens of long-term value and strategic fit. When this listing crossed his radar, he saw exactly what it was: a proven operation in a growing Gulf Coast market, run by a multi-unit veteran, available for the right reasons. This listing checked every box. Listing none 24953 spent 332 days on the market. With just 15 days remaining before the listing expired, the deal finally came together. And then, even after the contract was signed, the closing date was rescheduled at least 4 times. Each reschedule was another moment where the transaction could have quietly fallen apart, where one side could have lost patience, where a less committed broker might have decided the deal was not worth the effort. Jay Chandler decided otherwise. He kept every piece in motion, kept both parties engaged and informed, managed every delay with professionalism, and delivered a close that neither side was certain would happen. This listing was on the market for 332 days with only 15 days left to get the sale closed, Jay noted. We had to change the closing date at least 4 times, but we were finally able to close the deal. That is a broker doing the full job, not just finding a buyer, finishing what he started. Deal 2. A health crisis forces a sale. A craft beer power couple finds their home. By Paul Peterson. We Sell Restaurants. WSR NC Raleigh Territory. Paul Peterson has been in enough transactions to know that no deal is truly done until the keys change hands. Listing number 24922 in Cary, North Carolina proved that principle directly. The previous owner built a bar and restaurant without a background in the industry, in one of the most competitive food and beverage markets in the Southeast, and built it well enough to attract serious buyers. Unexpected health issues changed everything. The decision to sell was not strategic. It was a necessary response to circumstances the seller had not planned for. Speed matters. Confidentiality matters. Paul understood all of that from day one. Paul found a qualified first buyer and moved the transaction forward. By December, everything appeared to be on track. Then the landlord reversed their position, declining to grant the lease assignment based on a change of direction regarding the buyer's concept. The seller was still in a difficult personal situation. The first buyer was out. Paul went back to work. The second buyer, a husband and wife, are established fixtures in the local craft beer community, recognized names in a scene that runs deep in the Research Triangle. They have first-hand experience with similar establishments and did not need a lengthy orientation to understand what they were acquiring. Their profile did not just satisfy the landlord's concerns. It answered them completely. Community credibility, operational experience, genuine enthusiasm for the concept, and personal investment in the local market all changed the conversation. The transaction closed. The seller got the exit they needed with the confidentiality and care the situation required. The new owners stepped into a business that fits exactly who they are. What made listing number 24922 close was Paul's willingness to rebuild after a setback that would have ended most transactions, combined with the market knowledge to identify a second buyer whose profile was genuinely stronger for the landlord and for the long-term health of the business. What these two deals tell us about this work: a Gulf Coast restaurant that stretched 332 days, and a Research Triangle bar deal that required starting over after a landlord rejection do not look alike on paper, but they share something important. Sellers who are clear about their reasons create better conditions for everyone. In both cases, that clarity helped the broker position the listing accurately, attract the right buyers, and manage expectations through a process that turned out to be more complicated than either deal looked at the start. Buyers who know what they are really acquiring move with conviction. The Spanish Fort buyer was adding a proven asset to a portfolio he has spent years building. The Carey buyers were stepping into a community they already belong to. When buyers see the full picture, commitment runs deeper. Persistence is not a personality trait. It is a professional standard. Staying in a deal through 332 days and 4 closing date changes does not happen by accident. Finding a second buyer who is actually a better fit than the first does not happen by luck. Both outcomes happened because the broker held a standard that did not allow for walking away when things got hard. That is what specialized restaurant brokerage looks like at its best. Listing number 24953 was represented by Jay Chandler, WSR FL Pensacola Mobile Territory. Listing number 24922 was represented by Paul Peterson, WSR NC Raleigh Territory. Every week, transactions like these close across the country. If you are thinking about selling your restaurant or ready to take the first step toward ownership, the conversation starts at WeSellRestaurants.com.